if you're a small team, if you're a small business, if you have less than 30 employees making less than 5 million a year, you don't need a full-time operations person or a full-time project manager or a full-time integrator. You don't need it. My point of view is they're a very expensive and symptom-based way to solve the problem of systemization. Okay, so let me give you a metaphor. Let's say we were trying to get in shape, okay? We want to get our business systemized, we want to get in shape. Those are kind of similar things. If I wanted to get in shape, I could go hire a personal trainer and sign up for a liposuction waitlist and XYZ to throw money and kind of make the biggest possible splash I can to lose weight. That would work. Just like having a ton of meetings and throwing $150K in salary to an operations person would work. At this point, I've worked with well over 2,000 small companies, and what I've come to realize is with small teams, we don't need to go to liposuction. We don't need to spend so much money and time and salary on administration. When it comes to the day-to-day managing of your team, you can automate so much of it that operations management can really be a task that takes just a few hours a week. And I think one of the reasons why the liposuction programs don't acknowledge that or suggest that you hire a full-time operations manager even as a tiny team is because back when they were created, AI wasn't a thing. You weren't using automation in a day-to-day no-code software. You weren't creating task management in the cloud. Everything was desktop or spreadsheets or in a shared drive at best, or more likely in a whiteboard or a notebook. And so while liposuction approaches still work, they've stood the test of time, they're overkill for what a small team actually needs. Just to get ahead of it here, I'm not trying to be some Karen who's sitting here complaining about other programs out there. Again, I think they serve a valuable need. But what bothers me is how many people burn out because of these programs. They look at the cost, they look at the time, they try the programs, they read the book, they try to write some standard operating procedures, and when it feels like overkill, when they feel like, God damn, this takes longer than just getting my work done, when they reach that point, they give up on the world of process altogether. And guess what happens? Kind of like giving up on fitness altogether. When you give up on process, you start this ticking time bomb that just kind of builds and builds and builds and builds until eventually, guess what? You do need the extreme solutions because your team has grown, your stress has grown, your risk has grown so much that you need extreme intervention. Now, why am I ranting about this? Is it just because I'm passionate about it? Well, yeah, partially, but also because I want you to know there is a step one. You don't have to wait till you are a large business to start building systems. You don't have to wait until everything starts falling apart to build systems. You don't need to wait until you can afford a full-time operations person to build systems. And you certainly don't need to fill in a 30 fucking page PDF workbook in order to build systems. Duh. But the thing is, there is another way of doing it. And I know that because I've spent the last 7 years studying this question of what can we do specifically for small teams to prevent needing liposuction for our systems. How can we treat the root problem, the root cause, rather than just suck away the symptoms? And what I've come to realize is systemizing your business is about figuring out what you need to do, who is responsible for it, when action needs to happen, how that action happens, and where do you store all of this information. These 5 things are not rocket science. They're the principles that you will hear about in liposuction programs as well. But as a small team, we have the ability to solve for these 5 things very quickly. In fact, I've even timed it out, and it takes about 12 hours to fix these 5 categories of your business. 12 hours total. You can think of these 12 hours as like a Beachbody boot camp for your business. It gets your business into shape. It sets up the task management structures you need, the communication rules, kind of the structure that your team needs in order to thrive. There's one specific client who I was just working with recently who was right on the edge of hiring a 40-hour-a-week office/project manager, right? 40 hours. Full-time salary. They didn't give an exact quote, but I would estimate around 90 to 100K a year just based on the business it was. Right on the edge of hiring for this role. Then we started talking about these 5 things and how we can set them up using software and automations and templates and things that are a lot less costly than human labor. And guess what? Project management now takes about 2 hours a week. And if they had hired that full-time person, they would have been hiring somebody to spend 40 hours on something that could have been done in 2 with the help of extremely basic software. We're not talking about 47 different automations and zaps and zings and, going in the background that you need to have some kind of advanced degree to use. No, these are essentially shared task lists. A shared to-do list. You probably have this for your groceries. You can do it for your business. This is making sure your team knows how to use those, to establish rhythms for things like communicating on status updates to avoid having to chase people down for information. What we are changing here is a tiny bit of infrastructure and a lot of your habits, the way you go about getting work done. Your team productivity is what we're shifting just slightly. And that allows every single person to maybe spend 30 minutes more a week, but your project manager, your operations person is down to 1 to 2 hours instead of 40. It is a huge, mind-boggling difference, and it's why I want you to know about it first. And it's what got me just coming in here wanting to rant at the camera in this completely unscripted video, is that the challenge of this space is not just being one of the only women in the space. It's not just being multiple decades younger than most of my competitors. It's not just because I'm coming into this as someone who's been an operations person and not someone who's exited agencies. It's not just that makes this space difficult. It's the skepticism, the warranted skepticism that comes from people going to the extremes, burning out, and then writing off this entire space while they and their team suffer the consequences of having no systems, of feeling like you're constantly winging it, of feeling like you're running your business, but really you're just running yourself down to the ground, and that your business will never be able to grow beyond your memory because, God forbid, you grew a business that could do something more than what you can memorize inside your brain. So I have a request for you. Before you finish watching this video, help me spread the word, okay? This is no knock on liposuction. It has its place, but God forbid we start systemizing our businesses before it burns us out. So please subscribe to this video. Share this with a business owner you know who needs a wake-up call about the options they have for systemizing. And if you'd like to start taking action on this and seeing what it could feel like for your team, check out the description below where I have a 1-hour strategy session that basically goes over here is how we have found works best for systemizing small teams and how different it is than the models you've seen in the past. All for free in the description or in the subscribe button below. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, enjoy the process.